It's going to pick up like this, isn't it? Now, Call Me Dave Cameron's been facing a bit of flack from the ladies of late. His smooth, husky-riding, hoodie-hugging Mr. Nice Guy image has become, well, a little tarnished. Women are being turned off. So the wonks at number 10 are desperately trying to find ways to turn them on again. They'll be lucky. But help may be at hand. We've asked writer Rachel Johnson, sister of a blonde Tory bombshell who happens also to be Mayor of London, to tell us why she thinks the ladies are falling out of love with Dave and what will return them to the fold.
I edit a small C conservative women's weekly, and I don't exactly vote Socialist Workers' Party. Yet when I met one of Cameron's inner core over the summer and offered to give him my take as to how to give the party more woman appeal, you'd have thought he had bitten my arm off. Had he wanted my tuppence halfpenny, this is what I would have told him. I joined the Tory party when David Cameron became leader, and since then I've met tons of women, Tory women, you'd expect to be loyal as Labradors to the party. But what I'm hearing is rather different. What I'm hearing time and again is that politicians are coming across as arrogant, overprivileged and out of touch with their concerns, which are NHS, inflation, Europe, student fees. David Cameron may have spent the past week apologising to women MPs, surrounding himself with camera-friendly females at conference and popping his undeniably gorgeous wife Sam Cam on stage. This won't stop my readers from thinking that the coalition is run by Tory boys in suits, for Tory boys in suits, because that's what it looks like. There's only one Theresa May for all of us. And if he can't get these women on side, the ABs, what hope does he have of winning over millions of C2s, who don't have the benefits of a middle-class cushion, a bit of savings, a house, and who are being squeezed by cuts to their childcare allowances, their pensions and their benefits? Then there's a wider problem. The coalition doesn't know how to appeal to us anew. My personal instinct is a Thatcherite one. Women aren't a special interest group or a union. Women's concerns are all our concerns, and therefore it's reductive and patronising to have a women's agenda in number 10. If the basics are in place, then women will return to the fold. Benefits, childcare credits, infrastructure, care for the elderly. If they're not, the coalition and the Tories will find that women are deserting them just when they need them most.
Rachel Johnson from the Lady to our little ladylike studio here in Westminster. Welcome back to the programme.
Thank you.
Let me come to you first, Michael. The Tories, she says, are arrogant, privileged and out of touch. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think Rachel makes a very good point. Margaret Thatcher had this kind of hotline to working class man, but also working class woman. You know, understood what it was like to go into a shop and feel in your purse, and she knew the prices of things and so on. And this Tory leadership has none of that. And I think they do look laddish. And I think, you know, when David Cameron performs at his peak in the House of Commons, he performs very, very well. But he's almost his own worst enemy when he does that, because he looks so in control, so arrogant, so effortless. He's performing, you know, like the best dog in the show. He's in a very fierce male environment, and he's showing very fierce male characteristics. So I think that is pretty off-putting, yes.
Now, John, the nation is gathered round its sets tonight with bated breath to hear what your advice would be as to how the Tories can reconnect with the British woman.
Well, it looks as if the women need to reconnect with them. I saw him apologising all this week to the women in this country. Now he's lost the ladies as well. So it's the women and the ladies that have gone, and I don't know really what he can do. He's there with his wife, his family man. If he can't make it under those circumstances, it's difficult to see what he can do.
So what is the answer, Rachel?
Well, we're all casting around. I don't think it's just the Tories who are suffering from a sort of flight of female voters. I mean, Lib Dems have seen a reduction in female support of C2s
but where
and
are the
ABs
women
as
going?
well. Well,
voting.
Then women are utterly fed up. I mean, it's what I've detected from working for 2 years on a small C Conservative Women's Weekly is a sense of not just that political parties aren't reflecting us, but the media's not reflecting us either. I mean, I know we're at the BBC now, but when Newsnight did a panel debate on whether Cameron had a woman problem, they set it up with a 12-minute interview with Boris Johnson and Jeremy Paxman, and then they followed it with a huge studio audience of 62 women and a panel of 3 women. And the message women were given was, one man is worth 25 of you, and you know we're going to have you en masse, and you know you're a sort of you're fluff.
A lot was made, John, about the Blair babes at the time in '97 when they came in huge numbers, changed the look of the House of Commons for a time, but a lot of them didn't last the pace. Is Westminster still a tough place for a woman to be?
I think it was insulting to call them the Blair babes. I mean, there were women who'd come into politics. They had a strong view. They did make a number of changes in Parliament, and they had some influence. They were good and bad, like with men. You know, some are very useful, some are pretty useless. But, you know, sometimes it's the language that's used, and the press use these terms. It's very easy. Blair, babes, and that
Cameron
sticks.
Cuties.
And Cameron Cuties. But, you know, I didn't feel so offended. I'll get into trouble for saying this. When he said to one of our people, "Calm down, dear," I call everybody love. It's a kind of expression. It's not condescending to do that. I know some women feel that, but I don't think the majority of women do. In
I
the
think
North,
there's a general
I call them
presentational
love.
problem, which is that none of the political parties remotely reflect the people they want to vote for them. We see a sea of young men in suits mainly, as I said in my package, and there's only one middle-aged woman to represent many, many millions of the women they are seeking to appeal to.
But there's one glimmer of
disconnect.
hope there, which is that at the last election, an awful lot of new Tory MPs were elected for the first time, and many of them are women, and it's too early for them yet to be in senior positions. Some of them are beginning to be in the public eye, and they're doing quite well on television. So, you know, when there is eventually a reshuffle, and if they've been in for a couple of years, they could find themselves in very senior positions. Now, I don't really know whether...
It didn't happen when Cameron formed his cabinet, did it? And he hasn't been in Parliament that long either.
Do you think women are better at spotting a fake?
Of course we are. And actually, I would like to be quite slightly loyal for a change, and I thought that Cameron's speech was extremely good and genuine because, who was it you were saying, when he's in full flight, in full spate in the House of Commons, it is a bear pit and it's a very sort of Eton debating society environment. At conference, he looked exhausted, he sounded genuine, and he really sounded as if he meant what he said. And I think he did much more then to regain lost ground than he did when he apologised via the Sunday Times, for example.
It's an interesting point when you say that whether women can spot a fake. God blimey, Clegg was elected, basically, and he got this great, basically on the telly, and an awful lot of women actually supported him, so the polls show us.
Are you saying Clegg's a fake?
Yeah.
I think that was the implication of his remarks. Why is your brother more popular with women?
I can't speak for the Mayor of London, I'm afraid. I'm here to talk about
I was asking
Tory
for
women
your view,
and
not his view.
Well, they like his sense of humour.
He's funny and
Maybe
clever.
because he's himself,
He's
what you
funny,
see is what you
clever
get.
and genuine.
The cheeky chappy. I mean, look at Salmon in Scotland. They're similar. They do like in politics a kind of personality in the makeup of a person. And that might be quite divorced from what their politics are, but they get a feeling about the person. Perhaps he speaks as it is, but they rather like the humour and the cheeky chappy
And
that plays in
and
politics.
they're not taken in by the stunts such as Mr Cameron doing all these apologies. I mean, I suggested to the Tories a real apology may be to apologise for the fact that female unemployment's the highest for 20 years. That may be worth an apology.
Well, he's cut childcare
or
credits.
walk everywhere he walked in Manchester, there was always a woman beside him. That was a stunt as well. The voters are sophisticated enough to see through that, aren't they?
Yeah, although I think in some ways they're unsophisticated. I mean, in the case of Boris, I think one of the things that he gets credit for is that they knew him before he was a politician. He was on panel shows, he appeared to be a comedian, and he's kind of seen as an amateur politician, whereas Cameron is seen as a highly professional politician. Therefore, they don't like Cameron because he's too professional. They like the amateur. I mean, that I think is a bit naive, because actually Boris is highly professional.
Both parties, when it's Prime Minister's questions, make sure there's a woman around.
Exactly, the donut.
Around.
The donut.
Yeah, and it happens on both sides. It's in order to show, because the belief is somehow that if they are more favourable to women, women will probably like them more as a party to vote for. I'm not sure about that, but that seems to be the view.
I tell you why I get your reaction. I tell you why I think women are more disillusioned in general these days, and that's because in this economic climate, they're at the sharp end.
They are.
They're the ones going to the supermarkets. They're the ones that see the energy bills coming in, the food prices
When did you
rising.
last fill your car? You probably got a Prius, but I mean, I spent £100 filling my car last week. Anyway, I'm not asking, I'm no bleeding heart myself. You're right. The problem is, they're in government, the coalition's in government, and we're having a Mother Hubbard parliament where the cupboard is bare. Women know that because we run households. And therefore we know that there's nothing they can do to please us. So we're just cross.
The wife, Pauline, she's a pretty shrewd judge of men. What does she make of David Cameron?
Well, she certainly uses her credit card. I've got to
She's not paying hers back.
When she lost it once, I said, well, I hope the person's found it and doesn't come back, because likely to be spending less than she does on the credit card. But this credit card argument, it's very condescending, isn't it? Given all the problems they've got, and in fact, it's quite against good economic advice.
No, excuse me, we're coming on to that too. The programmes have a running order, I'd like to remind you to. So you haven't, Pauline hasn't got a view on David Cameron?
I don't think she's anti him. I think she would, she might not want to say that, I don't know, but she just see the guy as a kind of nice guy, and a lot of women do see it like that. She doesn't take she takes a political view as a Tory, and therefore he's not on my side. But I think she judges people how they appear and where they are as in a family, and I think he plays hard at getting across that line.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. They've got a lot of work to do, I would suggest.
We all have.
Maybe they'll give you a call tomorrow. Rachel
I
Johnson.
very much doubt it after tonight.
Thanks for being with us. Now, it's nearly time for your mulled blue nun cocoa. But don't you dare touch that Greek decoder you just bought.